we learn how to take responsibility for our actions, an action at a time, right? So when we get here, we've lived a life that's so backwards and, so different than what we think. Like, our lives are so messed up that, knowing right from wrong is askew.
Mm-hmm.
It really is blurry,
Mm-hmm.
knowing what the right thing to do, what the wrong thing to do. And so, for me, I'm really grateful that I had people that spoke my language when I got here.
Sure.
They were able to describe me in first person, right? So they would be talking about themselves and the behaviors that they had, and they would be talking about, like, drinking and driving. Okay, drinking and driving was a huge one for me because, one, I didn't create the law that made it illegal to drink and drive. Two, I never had a serious accident drinking and driving. Three, I have to get to wherever I'm going.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And so all those things equaled up to me being justified in that behavior. Okay. And today I have to take responsibility for the fact that that was dangerous and it wasn't okay, because now I know the possible ramifications of how dangerous it really is to be drinking and driving. Yeah. Right. And so other people would be sharing about that kind of stuff, and I would hear them take responsibility for that same action, right? Whether it be stealing or using or lying or cheating or whatever that opposite of virtue is, right? That shortcoming or character defect, if you will. They would share about what they did, why they thought they did it, how they took responsibility for it, and now what they do to correct that, and it would leave me thinking about myself, identifying with the problem, the outcome, and then hoping that the solution would work for me too. And it always came down to being responsible for the work that it takes, it having to be me that does the work. Nobody can do it for me, and I can't buy it.
Right. Yeah.
It's not a pill I can take.
No. No, but it's funny as you talk about it, because I'm sitting here thinking, like, there's so many things that we talk about or that we deal with in our recovery that I truly think are fear-based. Mm-hmm. And as you were talking, I'm like thinking, like, what is this that keeps us from taking that responsibility? Like, why is it that we are so hesitant to look at things and say, you know what, this is on me. Like, I've got to, like, I'm the only one that can do it. And it's fear. Like, we have this fear of change, and we recognize that if I take responsibility for this drinking and driving, it means that it's my fault that I'm drinking and driving, and that I've got to change that.
Yeah.
I have to change that. And that's scary, right? Yeah. Because I'm so used to that behavior. I'm so used to my life being the way that it is, whether it's good or bad, that I'm afraid of that change. Or I know in my case, it was oftentimes I'm afraid that I'll start doing it and then fail.
Right.
So I'm afraid of failing at it. And I don't like that. It just feels like more rejection. It feels like more pain, like more anguish, So I'll put it on you. It's your fault. You be the one to change.
So that I'm okay.
Yeah, so that it's not me that has to do the changing.
Yeah.
And we want the world to bend around us, But fear is a motherfucker, man. Like that can keep us sick. And so it's a good opportunity for me to look at, does it make me uncomfortable? Yes, but does that mean that it's not true?
Yeah.
No.
Right. And we found, we're fortunate. We've been on this side of the table for a while, practicing this stuff. Mm-hmm. When you're new, when I was new, it was unfathomable how many things I was responsible for.
Sure.
You know, and that's why I'm so grateful that more will be revealed, and I'm only given bite-sized chunks of this stuff. That as I learn and grow and listen to other people's stories that I can identify with and learn how to take responsibility for things a little bit at a time, I'm able to digest it in a way that works for me. And I've come pretty far down the road to where I really do understand that if I fail, it's kind of my fault. And if I succeed, it's kind of my fault. Even though failure is kind of a loose term, right? Like,
yeah, well, I was going to say,
you
depends,
never
it depends
really
on what your definition of
never
that
really
is.
fail.
Right.
You either learn or whatever. It's
Well,
always a
really,
learning
like
thing.
failure is just another way for me to decide that that behavior is going to keep me sick.
Yeah.
If I decide that I'm a failure, well, yeah, good. If I'm failing at something, if I'm a failure at something, then it's more of an excuse for me to hate myself.
Yeah, and quit.
Yeah, and quit.
Yeah.
And not do it again. And
Yeah.
not try again.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I like that point. Like it's not failing, or at least we've gotten to that point now where we hopefully don't see it as a failure.
Yeah, what's that saying? You don't really ever lose, you learn.